Hi again. Today's book we're going to review was written by Mike Echanis. Now, Mr. Echanis burst upon the scene by being profiled in Soldier Fortune magazine, um, and then he authored a series of books. He was involved in training of various military units, which are listed in the books. And he evidently had really good contacts within those units. And what one guy in particular, Steve Saunders, is pictured as his partner in some of the knife work in the books. Having said that, uh, the book that we're talking about, the knife fighting book, knife fighting and throwing, which is the book I want to talk about because we're talking about knife fighting. The system, which is based on the Korean Hwangdo, um, to me, it suffers from the same problems that other pure martial arts based systems face. That really they've just taken a martial art and put a knife in the hand. Uh, Whereas I think the better approach is to use systems that developed in edge weapon cultures, specifically devoted to that weapon rather than the generic martial art of movement. Most of the techniques are there's no progression in the book. So if you were to take somebody who's got no knowledge of how to use a knife, put a knife in his hand, what would you first introduce him to? Where's the step by step progression? Whereas the book just starts off with a number of counterattacks to a knife attack using um, mainly two Gerber 2s held in reverse grip. And there's a lot of spinning, a lot of very athletic movement, and most of the attacks are not really based on how a knife is used. And one of the previous videos, we talked about the importance of understanding how a knife is actually used by a determined attacker. And in the martial arts systems, usually this is lacking. Certainly was in karate, and seemingly so in Hwangdo. Um, the book, when it came out, did garner an awful lot of attention, and it was well sought after, including by myself. I sent for it and scratched my head, puzzling over how to get anything out of it, and finally gave up, put it to one side, and I eventually gave that book away. It's became quite a valuable book at one time, but it has been reprinted. I still do have his other book he wrote, which is on the knife defense side. It's very similar. It's got the history of Hwangdo and things like that. Some of the defenses are not bad. His uh, position he uses to anticipate a knife attack um, is a good one. Um, Now, that's all the negative side. I've never seen a video of Mike Echanis. I don't think there are any. So he may have been able to do this stuff himself. There are people with fantastic physical capabilities who astound everyone. But taking it in the manner it's offered as a book for the public, or for the military even, the soldier who arrives at a training course and wants to learn how to use a knife, I think this book doesn't really cut it. Um, it's kind of a diversion off the the mainstream of how to learn how to use a knife. Um, either as a soldier, as a law enforcement officer, or as a civilian. So I do have to be critical about this book. I find it of very little value. I can't recommend it to anyone except for purely uh, interest reasons. If you're trying to collect every knife book out there. Mike Echanis was killed working in some sort of paramilitary / training context in Nicaragua under rather murky circumstances. So his career ended rather abruptly. But at one stage, he did excite a lot of interest.